choices and voicing our equally shallow opinions more loudly or quietly. Most people can't even decide what color to wear or which burger to eat. Well, does it matter, man? Autonomy is an illusion. Autonomy is an illusion. Autonomy is an illusion. Most people can't even decide what color to wear or which burger to eat. What does it matter, man? Autonomy is an illusion. Autonomy is an illusion.
G'day, g'day. Welcome to my stream. It's Saturday morning. It's 5:45 and it is awesome. It's nice and cool. So let's get started. Actually, just answering a question for one of the Redditors at the moment with regards to string arrays. So I'm just going to have a bit of a play with this firstly before we jump into our Azure Function app. So first things I need to do is open up a chat. Make sure that that's all working. I can't see my chats at the moment. It's like a moderator mode thing. That's not it. Where is it? Pop out. Is that it? No, it's not it. I'm just trying to get there's like a moderator mode that was available for chats and it was really quite handy. Much more handy than the out of the box chat. So I'm just trying to figure out where that is. Yeah. Well, for all that, just do a quick audio check, make sure that we are live and everything is good to go. So, just start that. We are live. Yep, sweet. So, let's get stuck into it and we will carry on with this. So, I'm just going to be playing around with multi-line strings in PowerShell quickly to work out how that functions under the hood. So if you have a multi-line string like this, it'll process it in PowerShell as a single line entity. So yeah, it's very interesting. And then it's just a matter of fleshing that out, and then I can respond back to him. Alright. Cool. Alright, let's get started. So, let's have a bit of a play and see what's going on here. So you got multi-line. There's got to be a way we can reprocess this. What's a string? So we've got a string. I'm just gonna change this because it's a little distracting. So we have a string. That's all good. So it does a format. What's the format method do? Let's have a quick look. Is there a format there? Because ultimately, if you have a look, I wonder if what's its byte array? So I'm gonna go 2 bytes. String to byte. Okay, let's go 2 byte. Because it's the encoding type that the file's being saved as, so in this sense it's a UTF-8. I don't... Cannot find encoding type. Really? That is not a supported encoding name if information. I'm just going to go dot encoding. See if I can call the default method and see if I can work it out. For information defining a custom coding. Okay, so dot text dot utf a dot get bytes. See if we can actually get some bytes. It's not going to return a method. What is the friggin' path? Just this. Now be able to find type. What? Really? Alright, straight from a function because I'm doing something clearly wrong here. Okay. So I want to see what's in the byte stream. So 1076. So I'm just going to go 1 and 2 like that. Just to keep things as simple as possible. So 10, 49, 10, 50, 10. What's 10? Byte 10. What is byte 10? UTF-8 encoding sheet. Encoding chart, that's what I need to see. That's a control. So 10, 49, 10, 15. G'day. How you going, mate? Is that Raymond? Welcome. Oh, very first YouTube comment. Welcome. That's very interesting. Because obviously 49 and 50 are going to be 1 and 2. How are you this morning, this evening, or today? Oh, this afternoon. It's 49 and 50. Just quickly going through that. So 49, yeah. Well, that's interesting. 49 says it's an I and it's a J, so I don't think that's in. Alrighty. It's very interesting. So 10 is used as a control. I'm actually going to try something. Because I bet you, oops, 10 is going to be used. Yeah, so 10's used as its control. So hypothetically, we could just replace that specific byte with a carriage return. Whatever encoding, if that might be Unicode, depends on what it's reading it as. Just gonna have a quick look at the Unicode. Let's have a look at 10 on the Unicode chart. That's 10. Quick question, PowerShell 7 core. Why in PowerShell 5.1 script is not using system.synthesizer work on 5.1 and on 6.2 or 7 or 7.1? In what context? Because you have to remember that PowerShell 5.1 is running .NET standard, and 6 and 7 and all the preview after 6 is running .NET Core. So yeah, in what context? I might not be able to answer that question just due to the fact that I'm not that it's LF, new line, okay. I'm not that under the hood when it comes to the commandlet structure, so that's why I'm kind of interested in what context. So it's a new line, and it's actually reading as Unicode. So that means that you can just go ahead. I find that interesting is that it's a Unicode, however, it doesn't split it in an array. That's very interesting. So even though it has a Unicode character in it, but that doesn't process. So I load it using an add type assembly on 5.1. Yeah, it'll be because of .NET Core. So if you're loading a, let me have it. Just gonna have a quick look at this method. Does the method support? Oh, sorry. Does the DLL support .NET Core? Because the biggest thing you need to remember with .NET Core is that it's a complete rewrite of .NET. So a lot of those underlying classes, well, I can use this as an example. We've got HTML Agility Pack, for instance, here. So this is, I'm actually using a 4.6 version, which is supported with under specific circumstances. Now, the reason why I'm using 4.6 is because there's specific methods that I need for it to work. However, it's very, very sketchy, to say the least. It is recommended to use Core. So if we jump in HTML Agility Pack, there'll be different, if I can actually spell, there'll be different builds. So you can see in here where we have source. So you can see all the different builds we've got. We've got 4, 4.5, 3, 5. So there is a .NET Core, if I can remember which one it was. I think, yeah, that's .NET Standard 2. Yeah, here's your .NET Core. So you got .NET Core. So I would check to see if there's a .NET Core version of your DLL. That would be the first thing I would do. So just keep in mind that PowerShell Core is a complete rewrite. Now, with PowerShell 7, it offers a lot more compatibility with .NET and PowerShell itself within 5.1. So you're going to get a much better experience, but you've got to keep in mind that PowerShell Core at the core is a complete rewrite of .NET. So it's not like a traditional .NET of is this close to Windows compatibility mode? Is this close to Windows compatibility module? Yes and no. Windows compatibility module was added in .NET Core 6, which kind of added those extra features for it to be supported, where 7 out of the box doesn't really need it. A lot of the compatibility is added. However, again, it really comes down to if you think of it as an underlying language shift. Yes, it's still .NET, actually not the language, but it's an underlying framework shift. You've literally got a brand new framework to work with. So if you have a .NET Core library versus a .NET 4.6, a good example is I use all the time is when it comes to REST. So in .NET Standard, a lot of people will use NuGet module or NuGet packages to do REST for them. However, all those specific libraries and classes that they rely on are no longer available in .NET Core. Microsoft standardized a lot of those specific classes into a single class, which actually does it all for you. So you don't even need to have those specific packaging and third-party NuGet modules. So when it comes to .NET Core open source. PowerShell Core is open source, but .NET Core isn't. So we're in .NET Core 3. PowerShell GA is running on .NET Core 3. We are in a new version. I can't remember what version it is off the top of my head, but so Core is not open source. That's still going to be closed source by Microsoft. However, PowerShell is open source. And then I'm going to I just want to quickly check that because I feel like it might be open source, but I don't think it is. I don't think they made it. No, they didn't. I don't see a GitHub. I don't see a build. Okay, yeah, .NET Core 3.1, that's the next one that's coming out. Actually, it looks like it might, this is interesting. Cool, thanks. Any PDF on the subject you'll think I can read on this subject? That's actually a really good question. I think, I know there's, Kevin Marquette might have done something. I just want to see if he's done a difference between .NET. Does he have a .NET Core? I know that Actually, just say PowerShell core versus PowerShell. There's a really, I know that there'll be features available out there, but what you're really going to be looking for is the differences between PowerShell core and PowerShell. Obviously, the key feature is the base classes are all pretty much being uplifted. Oh my goodness. Everyone's trying to load their ads. Yeah, there's going to be plenty of documentation online about the differences. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, so but it's really just kind of like I just know about it just due to the really reading release notes, and obviously we're chatting to the developers and the contributors of .NET Core. So yeah, sorry I can't really help with that. I think the biggest thing is that you just kind of have a bit of a look for it, and I reckon you'll find it pretty quickly. A lot of it's just already publicly online anyway. So alright, I just want to continue having play with this. So you got a 10 character, which it looks like it's an LF, a new line. Unexpected token. Okay. How do we? I'm just trying to think. I know there's a way you can replace a hexadecimal. I just still find it very interesting that it. Yeah, I find it very, very interesting that it does that. So if you have a 10, honestly, I think you too, mate. Take care. I think the next thing we can probably do. I'm just going to quickly write a quick response to old mate, and then we can get started in fixing our codes. There's a string array, it contains I'll just quickly write this response. A 10. Unique. Actually, interesting. I wonder what happened if I convert that to a UTF-8. That just actually intrigues me, because if it's Unicode and I convert it to UTF-8, that actually might do it. Give me a sec. I'm intrigued. Just gonna, it doesn't really, even though I'm reading it as a UTF-8, I don't think it's gonna make a difference. So what's better, VS Code or VS Studio on Windows 10 Pro for 64-bit to create scripts or projects? Visual Studio Code is really good for scripting. There's a lot of out-of-the-box functionality with it. It's interesting because a lot of people will prefer VS Code especially with compiled projects like C# or VB.NET or J#, things like that. However, when I work with compiled code, I generally work with Visual Studio 2019, just due to the fact there's a lot of more features that Visual Studio VS Code doesn't offer. Now, VS Code provides a very simple interface for writing code. I like it a lot more, but there's just things like in VS and Visual Studio that are really handy. It's just little features like the screwdriver, where you can convert a for each statement into a link query and back again from a C# perspective. It has a lot of really cool features. However, they kind of, in my 2 cents, I use for compiled code, I'll use Visual Studio, and then for non-compiled code, I'll use VS Code. It's really each to their own. Advantages and disadvantages really comes down to what extensions and availabilities are provided in VS Code. The VS Code offers a lot of extensions, and so it allows you to pretty much mimic what you're going to get with Visual Studio. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how Microsoft in the future continue to market Visual Studio, especially with all the extensions and things like that could potentially meet feature parity with Visual Studio 2019, which means then they're kind of in a bit of a, yeah, it's a mirror of the other, right? Yeah, it kind of is. Obviously, Visual Studio provides you get all the features of building GUIs, and you can kind of have those preview windows and all those kinds of nice features. So I could say that that's a definite advantage for like Windows apps or any sort of app development kind of area. But essentially they're the same. Like you can compile code within Visual Studio Code, so there's not really much difference between the two. I'm just intrigued to see what's in UTF-8 now. Oh, that's very interesting. You see how it's switched it all? So 224. So I'm just going to rerun this. Get rid of all that. I'm not interested in that. I'm actually just going to say Unicode. I'm going to do this correctly. Switch to UTF-8. Oh, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Going on a little PowerShell adventure here. I'm just going to string that, see what it looks like. Convert it back. Yeah, okay. Interesting. It's not. Alright, that gives me a bit more of an understanding. Unicode, carriage return. It's new line. I was going to say new line. New line. New line character. However, PowerShell doesn't. I'd say yeah, it doesn't process a string array. So yes, you will need to split on the characters that you mentioned to. Well, he said actually then new line after. You shouldn't need to do that. I'm just gonna have a quick play of that now. So let's have a. So he said that if you go and N. I don't think. Oh, what the? Why aren't you playing ball? Dot replace. Cannot find overload for replace an argument count of 1. Oh, sorry, overload replace. What am I doing? It's split. And now I can rerun that, hopefully. Okay, so now let's have a quick look at that. That's interesting. See, it even has, even processing it, you can see if I index it, that doesn't, it just sees it as a single item. That's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how that looks now. Let's just grab that code. I'm just going to paste it in here. I just want to have a look at what the encoding is. What are you whinging about? And then he says, then environment new line after the new text. Oh, I hate how it just does that. Ah. No. That's weird. I thought like either, because usually either those would just work. That's why it's actually quite confusing. Very interesting. So if let's just take So how do you then split a string? Split string, hash, core. Let's have a quick look. About split. Yep. Yep. Single line. Regex options are. gonna backtick it. This is really interesting. This is very interesting. I've never seen this before. You can use string split to split on the the carriage return, and not happen to. I'm just looking at Stack Overflow at the moment. I'm kind of just seeing how they're doing it, which is very interesting. And actually also learning a fair bit about the method as well. You can clean it up so that you can configure an option to say remove empty entities, which is quite cool. Anyway, that I don't think it's going to play ball. That's actually really interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go and have a bit more of a play. Didn't expect I was going to spend this time on just trying to do a string split. And I don't think it processes. Honestly, I think I'm just going to go back to what he said. He said split, then that's very interesting. Just having a look at the split operator. Separator, max substrings. I think it's going to need to match split on byte. Split string on byte. I know you can use an X. You should be able to actually split it on an X. I saw that. I am going. Need to go back to my Unicode characters. Where's 10? Oh, sorry. That's XA. Oh crap. That's XA. Just trying to remember what XA means. Line feed. Okay. Okay, so it needs to be XD. I'm intrigued. This is very intriguing. Well, that's actually interesting. Let's try XDay and XD. This is one of those ones where ultimately I think that's just going to be, yeah, okay, that's intriguing. So let's, so that's XA. Okay, cool. So what's XA? I just need to make sure I understand completely. That's an ANSI character. It's not. That's an ASCII. It's a line feed that it's splitting on. So you can see here. Oh, I'll just quickly zoom in. So XA is line feed. That's very interesting. So an XD is carriage return. See end of line below. So CRLF so this is actually quite an interesting little thing. So end of line varies from operating systems. So CRLF, Macintosh is carriage return, Unix is line feed. That's interesting. That's very interesting. So if you have a line feed, default new Unix new line. To be honest, line feed's completely appropriate. I find it's interesting. I actually want to do this. Let's go grab some of this code. Let's jump in the IC. Let's just chuck this in here. And then let's just split on a line feed. Actually, no, let's split on a new line. I'm just intrigued to see what it does. See, that is interesting. So in PowerShell Core, it doesn't splits on new lines. Explicitly doesn't work. However, a line feed will. And obviously it works in a line feed. Okay, cool. So as long as we know that that's the case, I'm just going to tell them to split it on a line feed. Oh, X8. Alright, now let's write our response in the Reddit chat. So I've taken a look at it. It contains a line feed, Unicode line code. PowerShell doesn't process a string array, so yes, you mentioned. Interestingly, that actually makes sense because in the byte array there was no new line character feed. There was only a 10, and then there was a new line. So that would then say that string arrays technically don't contain it. They don't contain a carriage return or anything like that. It's just a line feed. Mentioned. So I'll take a look at the byte array if it doesn't. This is interesting, since that the new line, there is no carriage return on the carriage return on the line feed within. environment, new line. I'm just going to do it that way. New line won't work out of the box because the char doesn't exist. To split a string array, seven and 5.1. I always love these little journeys in PowerShell to go and learn something new. That's like really quite cool. To provide clarification on what slash x0a is. Hope that helps. That was very interesting. All right. So I've taken a look at the byte array. It contains a char turn, line feed, Unicode. It's actually well, Unicode / ASCII. It's actually ASCII. PowerShell doesn't post this as a string array, so we needed to split on the characters he mentioned. It's interesting since no character returned within the byte array, which means it won't work out of the box because the char doesn't exist. To split an array, you can split on the line feed. I'll test this soon. Cool. All right, let's go write some code. That was an interesting journey, and I always like them. All right, so we need to test some code. Let's go and start our function app, and let's go and work out what the dealio is going on. So if we go to our function app, and let's go and cool. All right, let's go and have a look. Where is it? It's hot copper, user sentiment analysis. Actually, I can just run mine locally here and make it a bit faster. Function start. I think it's function host start actually. Function host start. There we go. All right, so let's go. We'll start up our function app. Let's go and I'm not interested in anything to do with that. I'm just interested in let's just look at version Australia because obviously they're quite difficult. Actually, probably not. Let's not do them. Let's look at. I'm just trying to find. Oh, let's look at this bloke here, Cash Hound. Now is he? It looks like it's a space, which is an interesting thing. I don't know how it's going to handle that, but we will find out. So let's go ahead and plug this in. So we've got. So what we need to do now is go invoke REST method URI. Cache. Actually, I'm just going to open up Notepad. Just paste him in. Let's go to our node. Grab that. And then we can just go name is equal to cache pound. Like so. So there's a few bugs with this code. Okay, so it says it wants username, so that's fine. So let's go ahead and just change that query. Name, that's what I put there. Fun stuff, username. Let's try that. Okay, so there's a couple of things. I just want to make sure that this specific test can work. What's very interesting is you can see it's now scraping his content. So let's wait for that. When I was testing it, I found that there was some issues with sentiment analysis and some joins are not working. So we need to work out why that's the case. Yeah, why is that the case? Okay, so you know what I really should have done? Just stick it in a bar. That would have made better sense. Let's see who is. Let's see if he's come back. He hasn't come back, that's fine. While we're waiting on that, we might as well go and have a look at our Reddit posts, which... What did you do to level up your PowerShell last month? Oh man. Some blokes are giving it a full-on go. That's very, yeah, some very interesting responses. It's always good. Oh, sick! I love when I see people like writing unit tests. He's creating DevOps pipelines. That's fantastic. That's really cool. Mark that one up. Some of these are actually really good. Like you just look at what people are doing in the community, and it's really quite interesting, and it's also quite exciting. Learn the PowerShell monthly launches, yeah, and yeah, that's a good book as well. Finally wanted to learn class assemblies, and I read through Microsoft White Docs and .NET Core and PowerShell class construction. Assembled decoder, discussed when decode notice. It codes it into format XML, computer helper function turns into an XML object. Look at that. Solid stuff. That's cool. That's a cool script. I would want to see that in a That's a really cool talk there. Let's see, shell history. Yeah. It's made us start on into PowerShell using a script modified to my needs. Looks like you can see how the recurring theme is a month of launches, so. So, yep. It's not as easy as fun as I thought. just really interesting how people are writing. Yep, love that. Using parameter sets. Oh, we'll come back to that. Oh, someone got modded. Oh, geez, really? Okay. Jeez. So everyone's getting in. It's really cool. All right. Let's carry on, and we will have a look at our responses. So here you can see we've got our posts. So let's have a quick look at the posts. So if we go var.posts, these are all his posts. I'm just going to select top 10. We can just it's first. So you can see sentiment. And the interesting thing is that it also has a date time. So when it's running, one of the things I found is that if I connect to, if we actually jump into Azure function, just jump into Azure and we'll have a quick look at it. Sorry, got itchy nose. I'm just trying to figure out where I put it. So this is our user sentiment here, our function app. Okay, so let's go have a look at our logs, diagnostic logs. We're just going to have to go have a look at our resource group. It's not under Summit. It's going to be under streaming. Now let's have a look at our insights. So there's an interesting, okay, this is interesting. Let's see how many people used it. No, I did get hit on the 24th. Interesting. So it's fairly quiet, which is fine. So if we have a look at our failures, one of the biggest things we're seeing is that there's an issue with the datetime issue, which I think it's to do with .NET Core. Where is it? It's not failures. Where is it? Logs. No, it's not logs. Where's the metrics? Oh, I can't remember where it was. I think it must. Oh, because I had the time. Okay, let's just say last 30 days. Okay, cool. So our top 3 response codes for a 500, and then we have 900 errors of an RPC exception. And this specific error always looks like it's a cannot index into a null array. Sort object. Okay, so that's the first one. There was another one which was interesting. This is the one here. Get date, cannot bind parameter date, cannot, like you can see it just fills the screen. So that's going to be the next one we're going to need to suss out. Why that's deciding to play ball is interesting. So cannot bind parameter date, cannot convert value that to type system.datetime. String was not recognized as a valid date time. So what I think is happening there is because it's running, I need to make sure it's running in a different culture. So even though it might be running in Australia, it's probably running under a US date time formatting culture. I need to convert that into an Australian culture. Oh, sorry, into Australia. Yeah, Australians date time culture. So that's the first thing. The other thing that I saw is let's select the last 10. You can see here you've got no sentiment. This is the interesting thing is why is there no sentiment with these responses? There's content being posted, but it's not being passed back. So there's a problem with it joining back to these to this. So I think we're going to need to suss that out, try and work out what is going on there. That's going to be a tough one to try and work out. We might need to use some we're going to need to use some expression-based breakpointing to actually try and trigger that. So let's go ahead and kill this. And let's have a look at this. So first things first, we need to insert a await debugger. The problem with function app debugging is that it doesn't really support breakpoints that well. So this might be a problem. I hope it can work, but it might not. So what we need to do there, I think the first thing is we need to convert our date time. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's jump up here. There's a fair bit of code in here. You suppose date posted. So it's a type date time. You can see I'm just doing get date. Excuse me. So I'm going to have a quick look at what get date can do. So let's just go get date. Let's just see if it supports culture. Get date uses computer culture settings to determine how the output is formatted. To view your computer settings, get culture date time format. Great. So get the current date time. Okay. Let's convert date time. Date time to so we can actually pass it that way. If you want to store test file date time, make sure that in fact bar is that there's a date time. So we can go string date, new culture info, and then you got France.fr. So let's give that a crack. I'm just gonna go date time. We're gonna let's just give it the 25th of the 4th / 2020. Let me switch that to PowerShell. Let's have a bit of a play. So date time's now there. So what we need to do is we can just use date time pass. And we can just go date time and then culture info. New. What's our culture? Get culture. ENAU. like so. Okay. So let's, how can we change our culture? Change culture PowerShell. This is honestly one of the things I've never done in my life, set culture. Alright, let's go ahead and do it. So we need to go set culture. Set culture specifies the culture for the current user account. Culture is known as locale. Yep. We'll set the culture for the user account to German. So I just need to make sure that I change this back, or I'm gonna really regret it. So we can go set culture. It's gonna be ENUS. Okay, so if we get culture, let's go culture info. Specifies the culture. Let's see if we can get culture now. Still is ENAU. I'm just gonna try something. Nah, because it's, what's the culture for US? Where's the cultural list? Set culture list. Get win. Apparently there's a win user. I don't think this exists. Language list? It does. Get culture class. I'm just trying to find where the actual list is of cultures. Configuration language and settings. So I don't have an issue if it's going to be in US. I'll just cater for it. Now at the beginning of the script, I could just say, "Hey, run this in ENAU," which, to be honest, might be a better way to do it. Problem is I can't fully test that without actually changing it to a US. Like so. Okay, yeah, but the thing is we need to actually have it in a US. Set culture, US. Man, it doesn't look like there's much online. Using culture? No. What is it? Get culture. List available. Here we go. So yeah, it's ENUS. I'm just going to copy that whole. It's not setting it. Does it need admin? Probably gonna need admin perms. Let's just have a quick look. PowerShell 7, run as administrator. Get culture. I did set it. It just needs to restart this. You just need to restart the session. Okay, cool. Right, if that's the case, setting the culture at the beginning is not going to work because it won't. Honestly, if you want to break everything, switch your date time formats. Cool. Alright, so I just need to add that line to customize it. And now I can change set culture. Restart. Hopefully that fixes it. G'day Shane, how you going, mate? Now we fixed that. I just need to make sure that's. How's DBA life going? Let's get culture. I just need to make sure this is back in the right culture. Alright, sweet. So that will fix this specific issue. And yes. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so I think, so that's fixed. I think that's going to fix that issue. So let's go ahead and deploy and test to make sure that that's all good. Quickest way to do that, let's go ahead and deploy. So I think how's everything going, Shane? I think I'm hoping that that fixes that issue. Go ahead and stream those logs, please. While we're doing that, let's go ahead and have a look at that specific function app, and let's go and hit that endpoint. Let's just go paste it here, and let's just go username equals what was his username? Just go copper. So we'll go to my best mate, Shovel 40. Oh, you were using him before, I think. So we'll go hit this, and let's go have a look at what we're actually getting back now. Oh yeah, I'm just trying to teach people the joys of databases, mate. Drop star, select star, everything star, and you'll be right. Just, yeah, we had a one of our clients. Oh no, I'm trying to go to debug. No, output. Okay, cool. I'm trying to go to. Oh, well, we had a ticket from one of our clients, and they were saying that we're having issues with that provisioning system, and it relies on an SQL query. And so we're messing around with it, and like we literally caught it before. This is like a full end-to-end automation system. We caught it before it pushed changes out, and there's a whole bunch of groups that it was going to delete. Now these weren't Active Directory groups; these were internal groups. But those groups correspond to like OneNote notebooks. Oh man, and the impact would have just completely annihilated everybody. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, man, we are so lucky we caught that. And then we start digging back, and then somebody's changed the SQL view, and then it's completely monged the entire query, and it's obviously could have potentially been so much worse. So yeah, we pushed that change back to Monday because we're in a very precarious situation right now, because it's in a state where those groups need to be deleted, and then the provisioning system has to then recreate them. But as long as we're trying to assess the impact of the change in the provisioning system to make sure that it's not going to go ahead and do something that it shouldn't do. So it's a ridiculously high risk and high impact change, and we're trying to minimize it. We've literally, the entire automation system has stopped. Like, we've turned everything off, and we're like, all right, we can manually process all the changes afterwards, but if we get this wrong, it's gonna be bad. Oh, I accidentally hit enter. Alright, so you can see here, looks like it's responded back. I don't see that error anymore. Okay, so there looks like there's some issues with the sentiment. That's perfectly fine. I'm actually interested to see what yeah, so you can see here it actually didn't respond back, so that's another bug. So invalid request message, request body must be present. So there is clearly some additional issues with that. But on a good note, we fixed that issue. Sweet, nice catch. Yeah, mate. Yep. Databases. Yeah. One thing I've actually was looking at the other day was we're doing some information collection scripts, and I was thinking about running them in Cosmos DB, but ultimately I'm kind of not interested in paying a large amount of money for transaction costs. So we're thinking about running them just in storage account tables, which is a lighter version of Cosmos DB. You don't get the full experience, but you can still query on petition names and things like that. So it's still an index on a petition name. So I was like, well, at the end of the day, though, if we need to, like, we can just, like, it's not the best, but we can construct it. We can construct a queryable value on the index, the petition name, and we can just query it on that, since we know it's indexed, so it'll be real quick. Yeah, so yeah, good stuff happening today. Good stuff that's happening there, but I do like a schemaless design. It makes things much easier to manage, but at the same time, though, it turns everything into the Wild West. Alright, so we've got some issues here with request body not present. So the next thing I'm going to be interested in doing is recreating that locally. So let's just go host func start. I completely forgot what it is. I literally had a complete memory blank. Funct host start. Funct host start. So how was everyone else this morning, evening, or during the day? So let's go ahead. I'm going to literally run the exact line again, except we're going to query him. And I just want to see if we have that same issue. So I want to try and understand, is this a .NET Core, or is this honestly I should be running this on a Docker interface, but I'm too lazy at the moment. Is this a .NET issue, or is this an actual legitimate bug? So if we have a look at it, you can see it's performing its lookups. That's completely fine. Wait for that to come back. The next thing I think I want to do is I'm going to batch that. So it looks like there is an issue with that. Error code invalid request message invalid request body must be present. What line? 207. Message invalid request inner error. Request body must be present. Get sentiment. So let's have a look at what's in the body. I think this is going to be the key thing here. So let's drop a weight debugger there. And let's clear that up. We're going to shut old mate down. We can now then start this as a debug job and rerun this. See how we go. Alright, so that's started. Let's go ahead and I'm just going to clean up my console sessions. Let's go and trigger it. Yep, carry on. And pause on wait debugger. Let's see what's going on here. Next thing I want to do after this is I want to batch the requests. So it's not running in PowerShell. Azure Functions is not running in PowerShell 7, which is a bit of a shame because I would just wrap it inside of for each parallel, for each object, and just use parallel. So my idea here would be is to I want to build a job manager so we can capture and speed up the web scraping process by having concurrent jobs hitting the endpoints at the same time. So let's go have a look at the body. So let's have a look at the parameters. So it has a body. It has 196 posts. Now we're just going to have a look at, is there anything in there? Yep, that's fine. I'm just making sure that all items contain text. Actually, easiest way to do this is do this. So it doesn't have any issues there. So let's go ahead and run the query. Okay, so we're catching an error from our endpoint. So it says code, inner error, empty request, message request body must be present. That's very interesting. Because it is present. Why is it not liking it? And it's not the request body, it's more like it's not specifically liking a specific piece of text. So what we can do here to work that out is let's just send a single line, see if it works. If it does, and then we're just going to continue to work it out and kind of work out what the actual issue is with a specific. I would expect that like all of them contain text. Unless there's a minimum character limit, that could potentially affect it. Which means we would have to write an additional rule in place. But like, I don't see any issues. It could be can also be the fact that if it's including there could be invalid characters there, so things like double quotes, it could that could confuse the API endpoint potentially. But okay, so there is text, so it's more like there's an issue with the formatting of it for some reason. So what we can do here to troubleshoot that, since we're still in a debug session, grab this. Just having a quick I'm going to need to re-engineer this specific item. So let's just say .restbody.documents. What I might do is call this RESTbody, so I can have it keep this, and I'm not messing around with it. So let's go ahead and do that. RESTbody. And what's it converting that? Like so, and then we can go RESTbody equals RESTbody dot documents equals let's go dot documents equals RESTbody dot documents select first 10. Just want to see if that makes that work. Just run that like so. Perfect. So let's just do that. Update RESTbody documents like so. We should see, yep, we only have 10 items. Perfect. let's reconvert our parameters. So our parameters now, dot body should only contain 9 entries. Yep. So now if I jump back into this script, we can actually just go ahead and rerun this line. So you can see that worked. Definitely a case of tasks failed successfully for me. Yeah, definitely, man. I think it's a formatting issue. It's not an issue with yeah, the requests. But it's good though, because it means that, like, as you can see here, what we can now do is I can kind of work out what the go is, and we can work out the exact one now. You can actually write a quick dirty test to work out which one it is that is going to fail, or which ones that's causing us to fail. So what we can do here, go for, let's go I is equal to 1, I is less than 200, I plus plus, like so. So we're going to literally do individual requests for each of them until we find the one that it is. So what we can do here is then just go select first and then I, then we can just go try, and we can just go catch, right, error, I, and then we can go here, that, put that there, chuck that in there. So like so. Just want to quickly make sure rest body is what it is. So it's dot rest body. Yep, okay, so it'll just be rest body. We're always going to reference the full suite, like so. Oh, oh no, 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 I didn't want that. Damn it. I need to clone that object. Totally forgot about object. Forgot about it. Need to clone it. Okay. So I need to run this whole jam again, don't I? What's it here? Documents. Rest body. Stuffed it up. Okay. Alright. What we can do there. I can reconstruct this. I'm hoping. No. Okay, I'm going to need to restart this. I'm going to need to clone it. So let's go ahead and stop this and restart our code. Ooh. I'm just going to exit. Restart this. It crashed, that's fine. I'll probably need to clone it, so I can just call the clone and that should clone it, the clone method. I'm just trying to make sure that I've got everything squared away, ready. Yep, okay, perfect. Let's give this a go. Carry on. Come on. Alright, perfect. So we're in that spot now, so let's go ahead and clone this. So let's just jump into our interactive console. Dot clone. Oh, is there a method for that? Please be a method, yes. Let's see if we can actually get that to work. Rest body, please have content in it. Good. Now, since it's cloned, it means that we shouldn't have that issue anymore. So let's just check. Obviously, we need to select first one. Yep, that's fine. And if we run this, perfect. Alright, sweet. We are ready to cook with gas. Alright, so we've cloned. Yep. Convert to a rest body. Okay, so I just want to make sure that that works. And then we will run our test. Dot body. And you can see it's a single item. Right error I. So when it fails, it'll print out on I. Alright, let's do it. Not specified, right error. Really? It's gonna write warning I. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to not continue, I'm going to break. So it's going to stop on that specific broken item. Processing 1. Empty request. Message body must be present. What are you carrying on about? That's interesting, isn't it? Fails on the first one. So I'm intrigued now. I'm actually just going to write .text equals 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just going to put this is a test message, like so. Run that. That should have a body. Yep, this is a test message. Good. Let's run this. That's interesting. So it doesn't like it. Why? What is wrong with the rest body? It's probably due to the fact that it's a single one. I think I can't do... I have to actually do two, because if it selects one, then you can see it's formatting it as a single object, and I think it needs to be an array, and that's why it's having a formatting issue there. That's interesting to know, because it says it's not playing ball. So let's give it another go. That's why. That's very interesting. So it needs to, we need to typecast it explicitly as an array to make sure that that doesn't happen. That's really easy to do though. Sentiment analysis is not going to be happy with this. I'm processing the same thing over and over again. Okay, 64. What is wrong with 64? Alright, so we can fix... so the body... and that converts to JSON. So that's something we need to do, is typecast it explicitly. So I'm just going to make a note there. Typecast rest to be an array. So once we've done that, why has it failed on 64? So let's go have a look at 64. That should be the last item in this. Actually, it'll be 63. Ah, interesting. Great for stocks under 1 cent, good for gain, good percentage, good gains, good luck. It doesn't like maybe the cents. That's interesting. So you can see that it's quite a difficult thing to work with. It's either that or is it... What's the parameters say? Dot body. Yeah, interesting. What's the error? Empty message. Message body must be present. I wonder if it has issues with processing cents. Like those kinds of other characters, which is interesting. How are we going to test that? Well, we know that what we can actually do is I can just write out the text. I'm just intrigued to see what... That's fine. I'm just intrigued to see what this does before we think it's that. It's failing on that because of that specific line. Okay, let's give that a go. Text 2. And now it's failed. Why? This is very interesting. Makes sense. What? Oh, sorry, Shane. What makes sense? Find it interesting how it breaks on that. So let's have a look at the body again. I'm gonna have to go have a look at the sentiment analysis. Sorry, it's been a long day. It's been a long morning for me right now. I just want to have a look at the API and see what it's saying. I want to see if I can actually catch, because the error, 12 days? What a rip! Alright. Jeez, I'm getting ripped. You know what that means? I kind of did smash their endpoint. Please try again in 12 days. Oh man, I'm gonna be here. I can't wait 12 days. I'm literally paying for nothing right now, so that's fine. I am going to, not that. What was it? I can't remember. Oh, yeah, just cognitive services. Actually, no. I'm gonna pay for this one. Australia South. Australia East. What? Why can I only have a S0? 0. Yes. Okay, yeah, we're going to use your content to validate, to improve Bing. Yeah, whatever. No one uses it anyway. So while we're waiting on that, how is everybody who is watching? Since I'm waiting for a new deployment. Oh, got a resource. Look at that. That was pretty quick. I need an API key. PowerShell, Michael, sentiment. Where is my... just gonna see if it's that. I think it's gonna be that. I just need to test the endpoint. Can't reach this page. We better hope you can. Grab that key. It's another see if we can get this to work. If not, that's gonna kind of put a dampener on things. You already have 200 followers? Do I? Oh, sweet! 218. Didn't even notice. Yeah, that's really awesome. Thanks, guys, for following. Okay, it looks like we're... I don't think that's true. No such host is known. Oh my god, what is the It looks like they've completely overhauled the pricing tiers again. I'm just looking at it and I'm like, it doesn't... PowerShell Michael user sentiment. Like... It looks like they've changed it. Alright, well, if that's the case, I'm gonna upgrade it to a standard and then I'll put it back to a free. Like it's $2.75, which is perfectly fine. Hopefully it can allow me to roll back, because if it doesn't, we're gonna have problems. Try that. There we go. Looks like we got it back. There we go. Now it's like, yay, you're good. Thank you. Alright, let's have a look at that pricing now. Okay, so I think that is 1,000 calls a minute's a lot. But that should be fine. Anyway, so let's go rerun our code and work out what is going on here. Yep. So now we need to work out, is it the cent or is it that? So what we can do there is let's go and mess around with our first one. And let's just go dot text, and let's say, again, this is a test message. And then let's add a percentile to it. Set that. Okay, let's go ahead and trigger it. That doesn't look like there was any issues with that at all. No, no issues. Okay, let's give that a cent. Where's that cent? I betcha it's going to be due to that character, which means we need to write a sanitizer, that function that can sanitize characters that are not ASCII, and hopefully try and replace them. Let's run that, which we have. Let's quickly give that another go. Yep, okay, so that's done. So let's go ahead and reset that. That's good. Let's rerun that. Define our parameters. So it doesn't matter. We're not interested in that. Yep, that's the reason why. Badly formatted request, unable to translate bytes A2 from index 66. So very, very interesting. That's a very, very interesting response outcome, because it proves it has issues. There's issues with it. So, whoa, we're making progress. Mace, Shane, I shake my head. I shake my head, but I also approve. That was an excellent dad joke. So that means we need to work out. Sorry, nah, mate, don't be sorry. It was good. Man, there's so much cat fluff here. My cat went and visited me this morning. I gave her a good pat and she was happy, but now there's like just fluff everywhere. Anyway, so if that's the case, we need to write a sanitizer. The question is that what other, like, we're going to continually having this issue, so we need to work out what other issues, but what other characters are going to have that issue. So let's just go ahead and stop. And that should can that. Yep, sweet. Alright, so we need to sanitize. Now the best place to sanitize would be the sanitize inside of get post content. Is there yes there is. So what we need to do here is it's invoking a message lookup. So it cleans that up, converts it. We need to then sanitize the output. Now this is the interesting thing. I could sanitize it and just replace it with nothing, but it actually makes better sense to replace the text. So for example, a cent would be better replaced with cents. Um, the question is what is it? What are allowed characters? So that. So there's no. I think we're gonna have to go to Azure and let's go Google sentiment analysis, because this text analysis API allowed. That's not true. That is not true. Yeah, and that's what I thought. I was like, there is a limit, and its limit is formulate a request. So data limits, that's great. It's in Unicode, that's exactly right. If you're using Unicode heuristics, yes, but it doesn't say what is an unapproved character, and that is an unapproved character. This is a learning experience because it doesn't say in documentation. So what I'm thinking I might do, I'm thinking I might write a function. I'll just call it to actually sanitize it. I could use regex matching, and then I'm thinking I want to replace it, to be honest. Like there are strings like, for example, sense, they're better off replaced. So I'm going to write a function. Let's call it, what's an approved verb? Thought replace would be one, but it's not. Maybe optimize, I'm thinking. I was going to say function optimize characters. We don't need that. We can add a param block. Make it mandatory. Add a value from pipeline, so we can just pretty much just pipe it straight in. I don't really care. Just make it a string. Parameter set name. gonna call this yeah, we'll call this post. We also need to have a data. Go again. I'm gonna need a. Essentially, what I'm going to do is declare a data library. Hi, I think you have an extra H in characters. Yep, thank you. That's not how you spell characters, guys. But what we can do is, well, actually, no, doesn't add it here. I don't have MD, so no. It only works with MDs. Let's go there and fix that up. So optimize characters. So we got a data. So I think honestly, this kind of needs to be a. Actually, no. I'm gonna make this a. I'm just gonna make this a multi-line string. I'm just thinking about how I'm going to structure this because ultimately I'm thinking it's going to be an array. Got string. I'm thinking. I think I'm just going to do it this way. I don't think this is a good way of doing it, to be honest, but anyway. No, I don't like that idea. My idea was to just have a string with but there's going to be multiple there, so I'm just trying to work out the best way to structure this code. I think I'm just going to do an array. And then have hash tables within it. So we can just have a let me just call it char replace. Now I need to actually go and find that specific character. So uncommon characters like that, we can just kind of clean it up. And then so within our begin statement, and then we can go process. Just need to quickly have a look at PowerShell. Power data PowerShell. What's it called? I can't remember. I can't remember what it's called. No. Where is it? It's not a good start. It's the data block. data sections, that's it. Syntax, data, unsupported, yep. Literal such as following, yep. Data, convert from string data, that, yep, to access it. Okay, cool. Yep, that's fine. And then what we can do, just trying to think how I'm going to do multiple. Because it needs to update the previous. So we need to create let's get post. Let's just add another one in there just for the sake of dollars. Test 1, 2, 3. Optimize. Just clean that up. Rerun that. Okay, perfect. Alright, let's just stick a. Perfect. And let's stick a sense in that. Perfect. Right, so what we can do now is optimize our content. And this will allow us then to really, we can just build a library and then clean it up that way. So we can do it that way. Okay, perfect. So that's done. So I've integrated that specific item. Next thing we need to do now is test it again. I think it's still not going to be perfect, but at least it will tell us a little bit more about what's happening. So let's go ahead and restart it and see what happens. Okay, so that's done. Let's go and trigger it. Yep, go ahead. I should have done that instead. I did a recursive function. Can you say memory leak? Yeah, I was thinking about how to structure it. Oh, there we go. Something's not right. It's got an empty string. Ugh, fun. Alright, let's clear that. Didn't test for an empty string. I didn't want to have an empty string, but if it's an empty string, that's fine. So what we can probably do here, if what's wrong with that? Missing. What is wrong with that? And what am I doing wrong here? Like, that looks perfectly fine. I'll just test it. So we can just rerun that. Unit test with this would be great. Just I'm gonna restart console. Yeah, so what we need to do here is go allow I don't think it's null because I think it's empty. Yeah, okay, so we need to what's it? It's allow empty string. I've got to have a look at it. Forgot my parentheses. Because I was like, that doesn't look right. Yeah, cool. Because it was looking like it was processing it as a type, and obviously that doesn't exist. Cool. Let's go ahead and restart it. Yeah, brackets. Go ahead and run. Yep, just going through, sweet, which means it's cleaning up all that code, or cleaning up all that text, which is really good. Alright, let's have a look at it now. Let's have a look at it. I think percentiles are fine. I think that's fine. That's all fine, that's fine, that's fine. Spread, percentage spreads is fine. Alright, I think this should be fine. Let's give this a crack. Alright, it's moment of truth. Yes! Look at that, winning. So clean that up. And now we have our sentiment. Yeah, cool. Alright. That means we go to results, documents. We have a full sentiment. 196 though. How many? There was 100 and certain amount posted. Alright, well, I'm just going to take a quick break. I'm going to be back in 5 minutes, and we will pick this up from then. Okay, I'm back. Alright, so let's have a quick squiz at what's going on here now. So this is quite interesting because we know that's working great. The next thing I need to work out is this bottom part here. So I'm gonna stop this and detach from the debugger. We fixed that. I still think there's an issue there that needs to be looked at. The next thing we need to do here is look at its response. So this should have actually responded back. It's supposed to. Obviously there's nothing there, so hang on a sec. Let me just start our function app. And let's go to our integrated console. Actually, we can just don't even need to do that. We can go here, trigger it. Yeah, and then once I think I'm gonna, once I get a, I think at a version 1, I'm gonna write all the unit testing for it. So we'll write unit tests for each of the functions and each of the profile functions. Alright, so we have our posts. So let's have a look at our posts. So you can see in the bottom parts here we have the message body and then we have no sentiment. But it's all the way up there. Everything that doesn't have an ob on body, so you can see some of them don't have a body but a sentiment's attached to it. So I think this specific piece of code is not performing correctly, because in sentiment analysis you can't send a blank message. That's not appropriate. So what I had to do was track each of the sentiment ID to the actual message ID. So I think that's not working now, so it's not performing the join correctly. So what I need to do here is try and work out why that's the case. So index starts at 0. So the key one to note here is 195. It's blank. So I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to paste that into our notepad document. I'm going to use that as our test case. So what we need to do here, we've got recipe message.length. So I'm just going to clean this up a bit. Alright, so what we need to do here is I think I'm just going to drop a weight debugger, and I just want to see what the results are, and see how it's performing a match in my head, and work out how it should be matching in my head, and then what it's actually doing, and then from that should give us a bit more of an understanding of what's happening here. So let's go ahead and restart this, and let's go ahead and start debugging. Doesn't look like it started. I'm just going to stop it. Actually, no, it is running. Damn it. Just going to terminate the job and then restart it. Once we do this, this should tell me what that issue is. Or we can at least work out why it's joining to messages that are blank. So let's go ahead and carry that out. Once we've done that, if we have enough time, we can start the process of batching the web scraping process to improve performance. Let's see how we go. I'm hoping that this helps. Okay, cool. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is look at the results. So we've got the results here. If we look at 196, which will be 195, documents, 195. Oops. Oh, hang on. Sorry, not that one. That's the sentiment result. If we look at okay, so this matches the message ID so you can see it's 195. So 194, 196, 197, 198, and 1999. So it's provides a corresponding ID. It's matched based on the index. So if we then have a look at the each item, each array item, so 0, 1, 2, this corresponds to an index value that is used by the array. So essentially what I can have is I'm loosely matching to the value to the rest the rest body array itself. So if we have a look in rest body, you can see here under documents, each of those elements, so 0, so if we went to 19, what was the they correspond to the other values. So 1 would correspond to rest user rest request, user posts dot message ID. So it would correspond to, so if you had a 1, that would correspond to the 1 and message ID. So we know that the message ID is 1 there. Now if it's, let's say 195, you can see there it's 198, the ID. And then in documents, if we go 195, it corresponds to 195. So the ID is different because there's blank lines, and it has to cater for that. So it removes those blank lines, and then it keeps track of it that way. So that's perfectly fine. That's working. So it means my code here isn't working correctly. So so what I'm doing is index of 0, index is not equal to rest request to the length of the rest user post, message ID length. So that's okay. So that's the matching element of it. So we're going to need to match the current index to the user post index. So it'll iterate through from 0 to the length. I'm just thinking about that for a sec. No worries, Shane. It's good to see you, mate. Thanks for dropping in. I just think I'm missing something here. Okay, so go through each of those elements. To the user post index. I don't think that's right. I think that's wrong. Because what's happening is it's iterating from 0 to the length of message ID. It's not using the value, it's using its reference index number. So if that's the case, then it would, I don't know what it would do there. So if that's the case, this needs to be rewritten to be then we've got user posts. Where user posts, what's user? Dot post. Okay, so it's matching it. Okay, so it matches. It doesn't need to match it. It already knows it because they're a one-to-one match. The user post index would be index. Just think of this one out. Excuse me. So if user post index. Because it's a one-to-one match. 0 matches to 0 there. 1-to-1 matches there. So if you have REST request user post message ID.0, that matches. Oh, it's matching to user posts. It's getting the user post. Ah, that's different. See, it's not going to be 0. It'll be... I'm just trying to think what it's going to be. It will be... because all it's going to do is match it to 0 to 0, which is not correct. It's the value that it needs to match against, which means it'll be rest request. What's user post? Oh, that's rest request user post. Oh, it's user post. User.posts. Yep. Okay. So it'll be user.posts where ID matches the ID of message ID of I. Just thinking about that out loud. It's not playing ball. Index operation failed. Array index evaluated to be null. Okay. Because it's index. So let's just say index is 0. And rerun that. For some reason running line is not playing ball. Then user post would be 0. But if it was 1, if it was 196, that's and then it needs to get the index. Oh, it needs to get the index. Then if that's the case, we can rewrite that to be 0 to user.posts.length. Just quickly paste that in. Count. Count. And then we can say where and then we can say user posts $_.id is equal like so, and that should give us an index item. And that gives us an index. Perfect. Alright. So if that's the case, then the next thing that we need to do is what's the difference between that and this? So that fixes that issue because it needs to match the current index. value of now the next part here is match the results ID against the request ID. They are the same. So results.document where ID is equal to user posts like right now I'm just having a memory blank because I think there's a smarter way of doing this. If it corresponds, you literally have a loose match. You iterate through each of them, get that value, update them. I actually don't think we need to do any of this. I think what we can just do just need to match the ID of the result. Based on its zero base, which means we're just going to match it directly back to it. So let's iterate through the entire length of message ID get the message ID value, get the result, which would just be results.documents index you have our ID value, which corresponds to the user post. Match the results ID. Don't need that. Don't need that. Don't need that. So let's just quickly match this, test this theory. If index is equal to 0, put those in. What's message ID value? So that's 0. What's the result? That's 0. Add it. I think that's all we need to do. I don't think we need to do anything else here. The reason why is because we have that loose match, so I don't necessarily have to do any sort of lookups or anything like that because it's already based off the index value that's in the array. Let's just use a post index. That should be it. Literally, that should be it. Okay, let's go ahead and can that. Let's exit our debug and let's give this a test. It's going to bounce the process. I think that is as simple as it is. Like, I think I was like, I don't know what I was thinking. Probably overcomplicated it in my mind. But we don't need to do any of that because we already have the loose match. So we can just match it straight back onto it itself, rather than having to do any sort of wear objects, which is also great because it means it improves performance. So let's see what happens. So that's responded. Let's have a look at that. Let's have a look at our posts. There we go. You can see I fixed it. So even though the ID is 196, it's matched to 199. We should have a blank one there. Yep, perfect. Fixed it. Good. Alright, so that's done. So we fixed that bug. So the next thing that we need to work on is, let's see if we can job this, convert this sentiment analysis into a job, start jobifying it. That could be interesting because there might be issues with that, but I want to see it be improved because it means that we get a faster response. So let's go get sentiment. So that user post. Okay, so get sentiment. Erase through user request and send to sentiment analysis. Okay, so rest user body. Okay, we've worked on that. That's fine. Web user history. Okay, so it's going to be in here. So go class user post. Get post content. How's it being processed in here? I think it just runs get sentiment. So convert the user post into REST request. So it takes a user. How is it doing that? Okay, so it goes new. So if we go back to that profile, so if we look at user, class user. So yep, okay, goes user posts. Okay, so it constructs the posts. Okay, for each post in posts. Okay, so it's compiled, it's iterating through a list of the posts on each page. Okay, so then it's going through for each post in posts. Interesting. So now we need to actually jobify this. I'm just thinking how I can do this. I can probably... I'm just thinking. Convert... I'd need to refactor all this code. I think I'm not going to be able to do that today. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do that today. Alright, but that all aside, let's go ahead and deploy this, and let's go ahead and test it in Azure. Make sure everything looks a little bit more... It looks a little... Yeah, go ahead and deploy. Looks a little better, and then if it is, great. I'll be happy with that. So what that means then is, as long as we are minimizing all these errors, we should have a more reliable product fixing some of these bugs. Okay, so we're connecting to the log stream. Once we've connected, let's go and test it. Okay, so we're connected to it. Let's hit it. So this is the endpoint. You can see it's triggering, great. So as you can see, we need to improve that performance. Like, that is something that needs to be done. Definitely takes a sweet time. I think that's going to be the next big thing, and like you can still see it sliding. I reckon we can reduce that significantly. Looks like it's triggered again. Oh no, what's going on here? Post status. Okay. There's a lot of pages it's pulling info from. Come on. Okay, so it's completed. So that's a good start, and we should be able to see a complete sentiment analysis posted down here. I don't see any errors as well, so that's a really positive outcome for that. Got some positive, got some sentences. Yep, cool. So let's have a look and actually have a pull apart something. Okay, I haven't seen a huge percentage in non-curs. What's his sentiment? It's positive. So, cool. That's really cool. Good outcome. So, let's leave it there for today. I'm just going to go ahead and that's deployed now. So, that should be sorted. Let's just go run it against another. Just run it against another user. I'm interested in seeing if we fix the any other issues. While we're waiting on that, I might as well open up Get Kraken. fix matching issue with sentiment. Matching to the wrong post. So that looks like it's done. Yep, that looks like it's playing ball. Oh, here we go. Lots and lots. And then we can have a look at his sentiment. Negative. Look at that. That's so good. So good. Alright, that is a much... I think it's a little bit more stable now, though I still think there's going to be issues with it. But we're going to just commit those changes and push them. Yeah, that should be it for now. I think there's not really much else to do for today. The next thing I think we can focus on next week. I'm not going to be streaming next Saturday because I'll be doing a Twitch conference talk on BridgeConf. So if you guys aren't aware, PowerShell BridgeConf is happening. I'm just going to drag this over. If you head off to twitch.tv, head to BridgeConf. I'll be streaming BridgeConf, which will be happening next Friday for me. It'll be happening Thursday for everybody else in the US. Thursday, Friday for our European friends. And it is a mini PowerShell conference. A lot of the talks that have been submitted, I'll be presenting, will all be from the PS Summit. So obviously PS Summit didn't happen this year, so yeah. It looks like Pluralsight is also offered to host some of these talks, so that looks like it's going to be really cool. I'm not entirely sure what's happening behind that, but yeah. So yeah, that's what's happening. Hope you guys stick around. I won't be streaming next Saturday because I'm going to be absolutely gutted being up at 1 AM in the morning. Yeah, we'll hopefully see you guys in a couple of weeks. Maybe the following Tuesday I might be streaming. Next Tuesday night is PowerShell meetup, so that will be happening via the Zoom meeting. If you obviously want to get in on that, join up on meetup and you can get the meeting. And yeah, and hopefully we will see you guys then. But anyway, bye for now.